eat a largely vegetarian diet.
So what do you reckon then, Nicky?
OK, if a vegetarian diet's so healthy, how come we haven't been told about it before?
Well, we have. The World Health Organization and the British Medical Association have been telling us for ages. It's not new.
Vegetarians enjoy excellent health. Vegetarian diets meet recommended dietary allowances for nutrients. Protein is not a limiting factor. United States government.
Vegetarians have lower rates of obesity, coronary heart disease, high blood pressure, large bowel disorders, cancers, and gallstones.
Chicken's OK, isn't it? I mean, it's healthy. You're practically a vegetarian if you eat chicken.
So what tree did your chicken fall off of? Juliet?
Chickens that are bred for meat are called broiler chickens. They're kept in huge windowless sheds, as many as 100,000 birds at a time. With selective breeding and high-protein foods, they go from day-old chicks to fully grown birds in 6 weeks. They're killed while they still tweet like chicks and have a chick's blue eyes. If you compare their growth with a normal egg-laying chicken, you can see how fast it is. Their skeletons don't form properly, and because of this, their bones break easily, sometimes just from the weight of their bodies. On top of this, their legs and feet become deformed. Nearly 700 million chickens are reared every year in Britain, and research shows that 4/5 are affected. Many of them spend the last days of their life in pain. And more bones are broken when the chicken catchers come in and take them off to the slaughterhouse. Without the birds being fed antibiotics every day, diseases in the broiler sheds would spread like wildfire. As it is, these medicines still allow food poisoning bugs to grow, and they're spread from one carcass to another inside the processing plant.
I'd rather have turkey anyway.
Life's probably even worse for turkeys. It's hard to believe, but their ancestors still live in the wild in America and can fly at over 90 kilometres an hour. Some modern turkeys can hardly walk, and none can reproduce naturally.
Duck. That's really my favourite.
And it's much the same for ducks. Birds which have evolved to live with water, dive in it and feed from it, never even see water, except in their metal feeding tubes.
Fish. That's what I really like. Not a lot wrong with fish.
Listen to this, man. Alan Durnin, talking to us from the World Watch Institute, one of the most important environmental groups in the world. It's calling from Washington. Listen.
Hello?
According to the United Nations, the oceans of the world are faced with a catastrophe. Of the 17 main fishing areas, 9 are on the point of ecological collapse, and the rest are being fished to their limits. Quite simply, the world's oceans are dying just so people can eat fish, such as tuna. But it isn't just the fish that suffer. Nets such as drift nets can stretch up to 50 kilometers and kill whales, dolphins, sharks, rays, and even diving seabirds. It seems crazy, but much of the fish caught is fed to other fish in fish farms. In fact, all over the world, farmed animals are causing environmental damage. One of the greatest is the destruction of the rainforests.
Don't tell me the cows eat them.
These amazing wildernesses are home to nearly 1/2 of all the world's wild animals and the plants which provide many of our medicines. And unknown peoples still live in their depths. And what do we do with them? We cut them down. For what? Grazing for hamburger cattle, Central and South America are among the worst areas affected. The thin soil provides poor pasture and after just a few years turns to desert. Instead of rain being absorbed by the tree roots, it turns into floodwater and carries away the soil forever. In Africa and elsewhere, overgrazing by animals is causing deserts to spread, rivers to dry up, and soil to erode. Without topsoil, nothing can grow. Cattle ranching is one reason, but another is the growing of fodder in all countries, including Britain. Animals eat so much food that the land is pushed beyond its limits by the widespread use of fertilizers and pesticides. It results in a breakdown of the soil structure and erosion by wind and rain. Despite this, the number of animals keeps on increasing.
Eggs, Emil. What about eggs?
Well, there's eggs and there's eggs.
I knew it. I knew it.
These are called battery cages. 5 fully grown hens in a space about the size of a microwave oven. Thousands of cages, tens of thousands of birds, all in one shed. It's the battery system that provides 85% of our eggs. Battery hens spend their entire life like this. The chicken's wild ancestor, the jungle fowl, only lays about 20 eggs a year, but the battery hen lays over 300. This takes so much calcium from her bones that they become brittle and easily break. According to government research, a third of battery hens have broken bones, and all of them suffer.
So when did they let them out? You know, for their holidays and weekend off?
They don't. So it's hardly surprising that they become stressed and frustrated and often turn to pecking each other. The common answer is to cut their beaks when they're chicks. Research has shown that the beak is a very sensitive organ, so sensitive that some chicks die of shock, some bleed to death, and others are in pain for their whole life. For every female, a male bird is also hatched. They can't lay eggs, and as battery birds have been bred to be scrawny, they're no good for meat, so they're killed, gassed or crushed and used for animal feed. The hens are usually killed before they're 2 years old for use in pies, pasties, soups and so on. The lucky few are bought by animal sanctuaries, and to begin with, they're completely bewildered. But they can recover. One of the first things they do is build a nest. Then they dust bathe and strut around for the first time in their lives.
So you care more about animals than you do about people?
So what are you doing for people?
Well, I don't eat them.
Exactly nothing. At least on a vegetarian diet, we save people.
There are many more farm animals in the world than there are people.
Oh.
That means they use too much land, they use too much water, and they eat too much food. And that's one of the reasons why the world's poor have to go without. Just look at America. The amount of soya and wheat they feed to their cattle alone would feed the entire populations of India and China.
Yeah, but at least we're okay in Britain.
In Britain, 90% of our farmland is used to grow feed for farm animals, and we still need lots more. We have to import huge amounts of food from the third world, countries where children are dying from starvation. 12 million die every year.
Why do they sell us the food if they need it themselves?
Because they're desperate for money, to pay off the debts to rich Western nations like Britain and America, and to buy products like oil. That's why they're growing so much animal feed.
But I don't understand. Why so much animal food?
Because it takes 10 kilograms of vegetable protein to produce 1 kilogram of animal protein.
You just think, if everybody ate a meat-based diet, The kind that a lot of people in America and Britain eat today. You couldn't even feed half of the world's population. And yet if everybody became a vegetarian, you could feed the whole world and more, and this is why. An area of land the size of 5 football pitches will grow enough meat to feed 2 people, maize to feed 10 people, wheat to feed 24 people, or soya to feed 61 people.